Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the Mayor Heath Shearon and the host of this podcast. And today we've got a cool Insurance Town Hall meeting lined up for you where we talk to my good friends over at Canopy Connect. And we have such a good time with Ray in this. And those of you that showed up, thank you for being there. We had a small but mighty crew. And for those that text messaged me and that, got with me and said they couldn't make it, but they wish they could have, it was so much fun. Can't wait for you to maybe join the next one. But for those that did come, gosh, it was so cool to see all of you and having to get it. Just so cool. I just really enjoyed having you guys there. So thank you. This episode is sponsored by not only Canopy Connect, which you'll hear all about, but also my friends over at Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down. They do such a great job for you. And they do it because they care with the lower premium thresholds, lower commitment volumes, lower everything on that part, except for the commissions. You get higher commissions. It's amazing. And they don't have, monthly fees or annual fees or anything like that. If you're looking for one or two markets, or if you're looking for 100, if you're just looking for someone just to be a part of a community and be a partner and run alongside you, encourage you and help you out with standard lines or E&S or developing niches, you name it, go to smartchoiceagents.com and check it out. Guys, I'm going to get out of the way for you to check out this amazing conversation with my friend Ray and Canopy Connect and a sponsor of the show, all the above. I'm jumping out of the way. So, we've got it set up where there's quite a few of you here that are off camera, which is fine. But I'm excited you guys are here hanging out today at Insurance Town. I got my man Ray here hanging out with us today. And a lot of you guys on here I recognize that have been listeners for a long time and have listened to a lot of my episodes, if not all of them. And if you have, then Canopy Connect's been a sponsor of our show for quite some time now. And I'm very happy about that. If you've listened to episodes of me and Tolga in the past, we kind of started this whole journey together. And oh, look at you bringing the baby, Brett.
Oh, nice.
Look at that. He's
That's
just flexing,
awesome.
got the baby going on.
It's so easy a baby can do it. Canopy Connect.
There you go. Thank you.
I love it. But yeah, so Canopy's been with us since day one. We kind of started this journey together back in February of 2020, and so I just thought it'd be fun to bring on Ray. And Ray, you got a new position with Canopy Connect now. Did you get a new promotion? What's going on?
That's right. Yeah, I got a promotion from Senior Director of Marketing up to VP of Marketing as of, I guess, officially last Friday. So
you went from SR to VP.
Yes.
From senior to VP. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's startups, so it's still the same job. It's still doing everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Let's take a quick walk down memory lane. Give me 2 or 3 minutes on who Ray is and how you ended up there, and then we'll dive into the struggle that agents are having and how your guys are solving it.
Yeah, so I am the, I guess, newly minted VP of Marketing here at Canopy Connect, but I've been with the company for 3.5 years. So it's been quite a journey here. I don't come from the insurance world. I come from, software tech stuff, which is why they brought me in here, because Canopy Connect is premier software tech, and God, we've made some great strides since we've been here. So I've worked with startups in education, gaming, and live event ticketing, and all sorts of things, and fintech as well. So being insurance has been eye-opening because I've been kind of drinking through the fire hose for the last many years. Feel like I got at least, a full understanding of my lane, and I try not to veer too far into like understanding like actual risks and all that stuff. I'm like, that's you guys are certified for that stuff. Let you do that. But from looking at Canopy Connect as a, hey, let's remove friction from a customer sales process, from a marketing tool, from just how do we onboard new clients. From that perspective, I totally get it. It's all about the customer experience and and increasing conversion, increasing throughput, and ultimately like presenting yourself better. And that's
Yeah,
all very much in my wheelhouse and a bit of what Canopy Connect does.
that's awesome. And whenever I first started talking to Tolga about this, we got into the whole one click solution thing. And I thought it was unreal to think about if I would have had this back when I had my agency, to be able to send someone a link and then they have all their policy docs uploaded into a
Yeah.
dashboard for me. That would have been incredible. And I know that's a pain point for a lot of insurance agents still, is that back and forth collecting data, getting all the VIN numbers and the license numbers and the information they need from their clients to get a quote. But you guys made that simpler with that one click solution. And so, you know, the pain point, why do you think though, even with this, I'm still hearing the struggles of, getting intake from folks. Why do you think that's still a struggle for agencies now? Like that interrogation you and I talk about.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just there's always a little bit of resistance. And sometimes you want there to be a little bit of resistance, but it's a struggle just like if you're on a phone or you're doing it in a certain way, like what I've labeled kind of as the interrogation step, like you're in a position where you should be building rapport. And I think people think, well, I had a nice 30-minute conversation with Heath and
Yeah.
got all his information. And yeah, you know information about Heath, but like you didn't build a connection with him. You didn't, all you did was sit here and ask him 35 questions that you needed to fill out your application. And yes, there is, if you're good, you're interweaving some banter in there and building some rapport, but you're probably not building as much as you could if you already had some of that. You did basically it's letting you do your research before you have like a consultative call. So now we can have like a deeper conversation that goes the next level that is going to make it easier for you to have certain talking points and have some initial recommendations. And then as you do have an actual conversation and you kind of round out who they are as a person and what their risks are as a person, then you're in a much better position to actually be trusted and be an advisor. If I just
Yeah.
called and you're asking me a bunch of questions, like there's no trust being built, right? It feels very transactional. I ask you this, you answer this. I ask you this, you answer this, and then I go run you a quote. Like that's like a sale and a transaction. And so I like to ease people off of, the terminology of insurance producers or insurance sales, and that's the job, but really it's
Right.
being an advisor, and that's different. Like it's a different conversation if someone goes in and talks to like an actual financial advisor or something like that. Like I think some agents have that relationship where it's more than transactional, and we're advising you on your risk and we understand all these different things going on.
Bless you, Ben.
But a lot of it is just, you know, can you save
Yeah.
me 15% or more? You know,
You're exactly right. And that's an issue that, we run into. And Larry, I appreciate the comments. Please feel free to come off, mute and talk. This is an opportunity for you guys to talk to. We are doing a podcast here. So feel free to jump in and talk. But, Larry brought up a good point. It does sound so robotic at times, and I imagine,
yeah,
Larry, you're probably hearing, or you maybe hear yourself, or you're hearing some of the producers in your office when they're, asking those questions of, what's your name, what's your address, what's your VIN number. It can sound super robotic. And so,
yeah,
to be able to have a much easier way to bring in, that information's got to be, that answer to some of those problems. And then,
exactly.
Brett, my man, broker Brett brings in, you can lose people with a lot of those passes, and the one click way is better, or having intake forms has got to be better.
Right, right.
You want to jump in
So
on that, Brett? Why
Oh, I was
you
just to
came off?
say, I've actually thrown the Canopy QR code on a business card before. That worked pretty good. Thought about
Yeah.
like it'd be cool. It's silly like a golf course or like it's funny. One of my ideas is always to throw up like a little board at like a mailbox store. Like get an insurance quote. You can hear the tiny
That's
broker in the
hilarious.
background. But yeah, you can use the QR code in cool ways too.
That's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
idea, or you could put it on the back of a business card. You could put it, somewhere on your website, do whatever you want like that. That's a good point though. But yeah, I think you're right there. The two or three passes, going back and forth, you can easily lose someone. Where if you could do it all at one time or in an easier way, I think you're gonna be a better spot.
Yeah, yeah. And so, the way Canopy works, even if you're using it if you got the guy on the phone, maybe they called in, they're asking a quote, you can literally text them the link while they're on the phone, say, hey, I literally just sent your link, put it on speakerphone real quick, and let me walk you through this, right? Let me, and it's click on that and click on the link, consent, find your insurance carrier, sign in, answer a couple of questions, and you're off, right? And you be able to see that live in the dashboard, like it would come through in seconds, and you can continue your conversation if you want, right? But you've got like their deck pages, you've got all their, all their policy limits and all. It's all structured right there, digitally in the dashboard. So um, we have a lot of people that use it in that way, or like, hey, they're already calling in. I don't want to let them off the phone, especially if you're going through like a paid lead situation, right? Like, well, I'm not hanging up because this guy's not going to pick up the next time I call him back. Right? You can do that whole flow on a live lead on the call, live transfer, however you're getting them.
The other thing that I loved while we're talking about the one-click solution part of it, I do like the aspect of being able to create links for referral partners or for,
Yeah.
your mom even or your dad or somebody else like that, or
Yeah.
if I've got several people that I call close friends on this call with me, I could, hey, here's my link with, / Casey, and Casey gets sent it to his buddy and say, hey, if you need to get a quote, send, click here and Heath will get you a quote, or,
Yep.
somebody will. I think that's a good idea. Or your realtor partner, your friend, / Remax or whatever it might be. I think
Hmm.
that's a pretty cool idea. I don't know if anybody else on this call has tried that before, or used that, but it's in my idea or my thoughts, it's a good idea to use that.
Yeah, we let you do some levels of co-branding as well. So you've got your company logo you can put in there, and then in our little icon in that share link, you could put your profile picture, you can put the referring partner's picture, and you can customize a lot of the text in there so people know like, okay, this is coming from, you know, XYZ mortgage, and the information is being sent to, you know, Uncommon Insurance Agency. And so there's an alliance in that co-branding that helps, because if I just sent you a random link, and the way like I've done mortgages a couple times, and people are like, well, here's three agencies that we use, right? There's a captive and a couple of indies, and you just choose, and you're like, I don't know any of these guys. So it's whichever one's going to be the lowest friction point to start working with, and that gives you like a bigger head start, because you come in, you go, hey, I got a referral, and here's what their car, they're two autos, and they got a boat, and they've got a home, and like you've got a huge leg up over the person that's like, well, I'm gonna call or I'm gonna email this other agent, and we're gonna do the dance. Like, you're already done. You're already done. You've already booked
Right.
a consultation call. You're ready to go. So
So let me ask you a question on the Canopy Connect, where you're trying to download, documents for clients. Does that only work for your admitteds? So if you're in surplus lines, so like for us down here on
Good
the
question.
Mississippi Gulf Coast, it's pretty rare that we come across someone who does have something admitted, with
yeah.
certain policy types. So homeowners, as an example, 99% of everyone down here, they're going to have a surplus lines carrier because you're admitted they're not offering wind.
Mhm.
So the problem that we have there is when I'm on the phone with a client, half the time they can't even tell me who they have. They say, oh, I have
Sure.
XYZ agency, but they don't know who the carrier is. Or if I say, who's your auto insurance with? Oh, it's XYZ agency. They don't even know that they're with Geico or Progressive or Safeco.
Right.
Now, how people don't know that, I don't know, but It's amazing how many down here in our area have no
Yeah.
clue on that. Is there a way around that with Canopy Connect?
There is a couple ways around that. Now we do have admitted and non-admitted, but obviously the admitted carriers are more abundant and people know that they have them.
Yes.
We've got alternative ways, we call it adaptive ways of collecting insurance information. So um, if they have their deck page already in hand, they can obviously just email it to you. They can upload it into Canopy Connect, and we will parse that deck page, and it can come from any carrier. Like we're using AI and LLMs to um, analyze like literally tens of millions of deck pages, so we know how all that complex sort of data is structured within millions of deck pages. So we're able to take those, parse them, and put them into structured, I call it usable data. So then you can then push that into your raters or whatnot. So that all happens, in seconds. You have the ability, you can just bypass that login. There's a little setting in your link, bypass that login, and then you just kind of go into like a traditional form situation. So we've got some predefined form screens, and then you can ask your own custom questions that you need to ask. That's another sort of alternative way around it. And to that earlier one about them emailing you a deck page, is a feature we're going to be releasing soon. I want to say it's in the next month, but I'm not promising a date. Um, They'll get mad at me if I do, but we'll work where you'll have an alias set up, and you can just say, hey, email it to this alias, and it'll automatically kind of ingest into Canopy Connect, parse the deck page or any other insurance document, and we'll structure it and spit it out to you, and you'll get an alert that it's ready. So
Now, I might just be ignorant to this, but I mean, just as I'm kind of thinking in my head, which just bear with me because, man, I'm about as sharp as a bowling ball. But let's think about those agencies who have access to apps. Like I use the insurance agent app. So my clients, again, it's all surplus lines, so that they can have everything on one app. I personally manually upload every deck page, download it, and it goes to them. Now they have to log out, log back in to see any kind of update. But this Canopy Connect, connect or talk with, if I'm using that verbiage correctly, I don't know. But do they talk with, say, insurance agent app? So if someone else has insurance agent app and they're calling me from Alabama, as an example, if I download that, would it see everything within insurance agent app, even though it might be five different surplus lines markets?
yeah, currently not. It's funny. I've been talking to our friends over there about ways that we can partner, because we're like, well, we have these, we deal with similar information, but just at different points of the process, right?
Yeah.
They're more on the current customer servicing side. Um, but yeah, currently we don't have any sort of integration like that. Um, and we're trying to find something that makes sense, because we both, we're all friends of the program, want to make things easier for everyone. But there's also sort of the double-edged thing of like, well, if that's facilitating, and we hear this from others, like if that's facilitating me losing my business to someone else, then that's a thing. I don't like someone that's using insurance agent app does not want to give access to that, if that makes sense. Um, but
All right, we're all just people helping people.
I know, but
You know,
that's the way the world
talk,
works.
speaking of like the deck pages part of it, and like I think I heard, through the grapevine, in my ear to the grind on, Canopy, you guys are doing some new stuff with deck pages now and stuff you guys announced maybe yesterday. Can you talk to me a little
Yeah.
about that for a second while we're on that subject?
Yeah. So I would say for the last year or so, you've been able to upload, or the client's been able to upload a deck page pretty easily through our app. And it would just kind of show up as a PDF. And then we started layering in some, you know, doc parsing of it through the major carriers. And so just yesterday we announced it, where we can ingest any insurance document, and because we've trained it well enough that, it's almost accurate every single time a document comes through, deck page specifically comes through. Um, Currently, it works with PDFs. We are working on it to work with images as well. Um, we're always getting like people taking pictures,
Yeah.
Right.
blurry pictures of their, things. So we're going to start supporting that pretty soon. Like the technology we have is there. Um, we just need to make sure it gets to a place where it's ready for prime time, which is any day now. Um, so yeah, being able to ingest that and parse it and make it make sense because a standard sort of OCR screen, screen scraper type thing still, even to this day, has trouble disambiguating the ones, the L's, the lowercase or uppercase I's, and the zeros and O's,
All the
right?
things.
All those things, and that's always fun, right? You get into a VIN number and you're like, oh shit, like what was that number again? I can't read it. It's a little blurry. I can't quite guess it. Um, and yeah, so we're able to parse all that stuff. And then like there's usually policy information's in kind of a table format, and OCRs are like, I don't know what to do with this because depending on how the file was encoded or how it looks, it means different things. Do I read it this way and this way? Um, so yeah, we've solved a lot of that. So you get consistent results from any deck page, any carrier.
So for the people here that, are hanging out with me and you here, if anybody would feel comfortable with it, what is, the biggest pain points you guys have as far as that prospecting phase? And, as we talk in interrogation phase is something that, Ray and I talk through when we talk on this stuff, but
Yeah.
is there some other issue you guys deal with or a challenge you guys are facing right now that, we could talk through for a minute while we got other agents on the phone, while we got Ray and I on the phone, on the Zoom call, my bad. Anyone feel comfortable sharing any of that, what your challenges are? If
I
not,
think the
then
biggest is really just the communication back and forth, between our clients and
yeah,
ourselves,
that's
and
what Teresa just said as well. Most definitely the back and forth document
yes,
gathering.
and then their, ignorance, lack of a better word, if you try to educate someone, and they're uneducated, it's like we're having to start from ground zero. Or if I ask them what coverage do you have? Oh, I have full coverage.
And that's not a real thing.
Well, $25,000 on a $80,000 vehicle is not full coverage. But they think it is because it has comp or collision.
No, you're exactly
And they
right.
want to do the infamous, oh, well, let me take a picture of my phone and send it to you. And if it's an iPhone, does it communicate with an Android or does it communicate well with an email and it shows up in the body of an email and it's huge? So it is the back and forth, it is the communication. So it's very exciting to have a platform that can bring it all together, which leads me
Right.
to another question of is Canopy Connect or do they plan on, communicating with, say, LexisNexis, who pulls data from all over the place and has all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
which would alleviate a lot of that back and forth. If we went to one platform that I can give this person's name and address as a primary and it pull everything listed for those individuals or that address.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of data enrichment options. One of them is like anytime someone submits their policy or we submit an address, we do go in and we have access to some property databases that we're pulling back information basically from county records that'll tell you all the bed, bath, square footage, roof material, all that stuff, right? So the stuff that some people are going off and looking it up on Zillow, kind of on the side, and coming back and putting that in. We automatically just enrich all of those. So any of the property information, that's personal and commercial. Um, and so that's one layer. Another layer, we do have some lookup options. So you can look up household information, household vehicles, household drivers, uh, pull up driver license numbers and those driving records as well. So we have options to do those. Those are sort of add-on, sort of a la carte data features that we do have, but they're in there and you can do it right from, if maybe there's a submission that came through and like we get great data, lots of data from a lot of carriers, but there's some carriers that maybe they don't share driver's license numbers or they don't share date of birth. So you're able to kind of go in there and say, okay, well, I need that information, so let me go enrich that, and it'll just pull it up and populate it. Or sometimes you have to plug in some of their name and matching information to make sure that it's right.
You guys actually pull the motor vehicle report as well?
It's a we call it a preliminary report. So
Okay.
it's not
So it's not actually pulling from LexisNexis. This is just going to be what's already public record.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
we've
then,
got we have a
Teresa
handful of data
asked,
providers. Yeah.
yeah, Teresa even asked about Secretary of State or Safer or some of those other for, with Safer being commercial and, some of
Oh,
those kind
yeah.
of things as well. But um, talk to me for a minute. We've talked about the one click that y'all been doing for a long time. And then
Mhm.
just recently, you guys, that's why I want to bring you on just to talk through the intake forms that you've got, the platforms you've got there for intake. What kind of led you guys to that real quick, going from, you said to one click do that now is just become, more of a process thing. And a lot of agencies don't have that process procedures down, or
Yeah.
was there a different pain point you guys saw?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for 80% of our users, they were perfectly happy with, let me send you a link, go find your carrier, they'll sign in, and we'll pull all the information. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a ton of information because that's more information than I was getting just off of a deck page, right? So they're like, that's great. But, like Jody's asking, like, but could you do this? But could you do this? So we started layering other things like, oh, well, there's still a little bit of, information, or sometimes I still need to send a follow-up, through some other form just because I need something else. And we're like, well, this is an easy thing. Like, we'll just build the forms into our product. And so now you have the ability, like the information comes through, you can have them confirm the information. It's usually accurate, but it could be outdated. If there's been movement or there's been just things that are not that they haven't themselves updated, right? Maybe they give them a bad email address when they signed up because when they were going through some, they're shopping their rates, like I'm going to use my dummy email address, and that's the one that gets attached to the
Yeah.
to the policy, right? So it gives them a chance to confirm that information. If there's other questions that you want to ask, if there's regional questions, um, I'm sure there's a lot more nuanced questions you need to ask when you're writing out in Florida or something that is outside the standard. So you can just create custom questions like whatever you want, right? They're and you can enumerate them, yes, no, true, false, date, free text, just tell me about any modifications on your car and like things like that. You can just ask and those all flow through and they're visible in your dashboard. The sort of default screens, the structured screens that we have that sort of confirm information, that stuff can get passed into as you push information into a rater or CRM system, that stuff goes as well. So yeah, we just made it a lot more flexible. Um, you can still, again, there's a lot of people that just say, I just want to keep this simple, and we still recommend like keep it simple. Don't ask every question that you ever hope to answer because then you're going to put them through this nightmare of like, you know, next,
Right,
right?
right,
I
right.
don't know, and you're going, again, the more questions you ask, the higher the abandon rate's going to be. The good thing with us is like if you pulled their insurance information up front, if they, we always put that as kind of the first step. Um, like we've already got it. It's probably already sitting in your dashboard. And as they answer the other questions, the other fields will kind of fill in. So um, it's not all for naught. Whereas I think sometimes you go to a longer form solution and you know if they bounce after page 7 and you had 15 pages, like you didn't get any, none of that information stays. I'm sure we've all experienced that going through any sort of web form. You're just like, I got distracted at page 7, and I didn't hit submit. I could have sworn I hit submit. I thought it was done because it felt like I was doing this forever. So we try to avoid that. So we're capturing information as you go to each subsequent page.
So I've already got, Teresa had mentioned she wants to, book a demo, whatnot. But could we do like a little teaser demo now, and you pull up and share screen and
Absolutely.
show us a little bit at what it looks like? Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
So if you guys want to see what it looks like,
This is the
can
joys of the
you?
town hall, right? Like we actually get to see some stuff
Yes.
versus your traditional podcast. And for those of you listening on the podcast, I'm gonna try to narrate this as best I can. We'll see what maybe we got to do some work on the editing side to
Yeah, we'll be all right.
tighten it up. But a picture's worth 1,000 words and a video is worth a bajillion. I don't know.
And if
Um,
yeah, and if those that want to, you could go check it out. I'll release it on YouTube later as well.
yeah.
Hey Casey, thanks
So
for coming and hanging out with us. I love you, buddy.
Hey, love you guys too. See ya.
yeah, see you. Um, Great. So, quick overview of Canopy Connect. I'm not going to go into every single bell and whistle, but I do want to give you guys a good sense of what you're seeing. Right here is the Canopy Connect dashboard. We're going to just kind of pop into these are all your submissions, and there's some extra like little analytics thing, but the bulk of it is coming in, looking at a submission. So you can see here, this is kind of our dummy data, but it's Clark Kent. You can tell this information came from the carrier because it's tagged this way. If it came from a document upload or whatever, it would also be tagged accordingly. Contact information is all here, physical and mailing, and this is the meat of it. You can get into each of the policies. So you can see that Clark Kent here has an umbrella, homeowners, and auto. Not much to say about the umbrella, but you can see what their premiums are, and you can look at the documentation. But for homeowners, we can pop that open, and you see it's all structured here. We can see replacement cost value, the different coverages, limits, premiums, and then you can see the deductibles here. And if there's differentiations between, the wind and storm or wind and hail deductible being different than the regular deductible, that's all shown here. It's all kind of consistently structured. So as if you're a high volume um, agent, like boom, you see it every single time. Whereas deck page, is this on page one, page two, page three? Like, what am I looking at? And it takes you a second to reorient yourself. So this you can kind of train your brain a bit to shortcut and see what you're looking for. Um, Down here, we've got enriched property data. So again, when we pull a property from a policy, we're going to enrich that with property information, your year it was built, rooms, square footage, purchase price, that stuff. We've got building material information. So, their heating, their, framing, their roof, whether they got shingles or whatnot, fireplace, pools, all that stuff. And then you got some valuation information here, assessed values, market values, owner information. Um, and then as we scroll down, we can also see the lien holders that are attached to that policy.
Now, this is the information they get from the one click.
This is yeah. So this is if they had
Okay.
the information came from the carrier. Um, The auto policy, again, similar thing. You can see all their limits, premiums, deductibles, lien holders as well here. Um, Going a little further, we can see who the drivers were or are on the current policy. Um, we can see what their driving records are. Not all carriers provide this. This is all pulled from the carrier level. So, um, right, if they've switched every year, it's not going to be a complete snapshot, but for the most part, we can pull information. If they've been with the same carrier for 7 years, like we can go back that long to pull all that history. Um, Similarly, claims with that carrier all come through here. And then we've got our integrations. We've got integrations with a ton of folks. These are not all of them. These are just the ones that are currently kind of connected to our account. But we've got, all the popular raters. Um, we got commercial integrations here with Assembly, and if you guys are familiar with Assembly, they can generate all your Accord forms and whatnot. Easy links. We also connect with Epic as well.
Now, when you went real quick,
Yeah.
you were showing that they had the claims information. Someone brought up earlier loss runs. Now, there are some cases to where if they have a commercial account, and that carrier will pull that information, you can get loss runs as well.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, we can.
100% of the time, but you can. There's potential to get commercial loss runs using Canopy Connect.
That's right. That's right. And I'll see if I have an example. This one's
So,
probably.
for that, I think I remember who
Yeah,
asked
so
that
this is a
question
commercial,
about it.
this one's a
Yeah,
commercial submission. Very similar to what we showed there, but you can see the BOP, workers' comp, commercial auto, that all kind of shows up similarly.
pretty awesome.
Um, and then
Because
down
that's
here we've
another
got,
pain point that Teresa brought up was getting those loss runs. I think it was Teresa, whoever brought
yeah,
that up.
so
It's tough getting loss runs, so to be able to have that, but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
So we're able to pull up loss events and you can see all this information here. Um, and I'll say the one caveat is a lot of carriers like won't blanketly accept these because it's not like an official loss run from the
Sure.
carrier, even though it is data from the carrier, but they're not quite up to speed. There's a handful of carriers that'll accept them from an underwriting perspective.
But at
But
least have that
what,
visibility to be able to tell that story to your underwriter, to be able to write that narrative to
yeah, yeah.
say, here's what we do have.
Yeah, and for small commercial, I'll tell you what is having some of this stuff up front. Like you can go run them through some of the commercial raters or with the different um, carrier sites, and that prevents you from getting blocked out of the market when, where the alternative is, hey, I have to go send a letter to the carrier or to the agent to request the loss runs, and then that kind of triggers them, and then they go and run rates, and then now you're kind of blocked from entering some of those if you've got similar carriers. We've heard that one is kind of the big like, oh, like I don't need to ask them. Like eventually you're going to need to get the like official loss run
Yeah.
report. Um, but you don't need to get that till the end, till like we're ready to move forward, and I've already got this like 90% of the way there, right? Um,
Yeah,
Ray,
and Kimmy,
I got a
Kimmy, I
question
appreciate
for
the
you.
look see. I haven't heard the word look see in a long time, Kimmy, but yeah, Kimmy was like, yeah, at least gives the agents a look see on what they're up
yeah,
against when you can
yeah,
see that. So, um,
exactly,
I'm about to bring
exactly.
back look see. I haven't used that one in a
Look,
while, so I
see, there you
appreciate that,
go.
Kimmy.
So
Now,
yeah,
Ray,
that's
I got a
yeah, go
question
ahead.
real quick. As you're looking at this portal, if this is something that we're pulling up and any agent can see it before they're going to run a new quote, for example, if you see something on there listed and you know it's incorrect, or if you have something to add, can this be edited on our end, or does it have to be by you guys?
Right now, we can't edit it, or we don't, our agents can't edit it from their point because we want to keep some of the integrity of the data. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
'cause that's pulling straight from the
the
carrier.
Right, right. And so the opportunity to edit it is kind of if you've pushed it over to your rater or wherever, then you want to edit what you need there. But like this one is the intent is this is the snapshot of their current situation, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And
Um,
that's a good question though. But yeah,
yeah.
what? Okay. Any other questions and thoughts or ideas or anything on the dashboard and whatnot, or if you need to finish up on that, Ray, because I kind of want to see the intake form too, or the intake platform too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just to touch on like we talked about some of the enrichment options. Some of them are built in if like
Oh
these
yeah,
drivers didn't show up. You can also just kind of go into these enter some information to pull in the household driver information, and then that'll show up down here. I don't want to show, I think there's someone's real information down there. So, but it shows up down there. Similar driver license lookup, um, driver insight, which is our driving reports. We had to we had to call it something else, so it's not the official driving records. So it's driver insight. You can pull up all that information, and then you can do sort of ad hoc property data lookup as well. So those are options right there, and some of those features are also just inbuilt into the actual submission. Um, but yeah, I'll let me pop over real quick to show you guys the actual intake experience, like customer perspective. what do they
Yeah.
see, right? You're able to, first of all, you can create a whole bunch of links. Like I've got like 100 links here. No, I got 40 links. I think we pared them down at some point. But you can create a bunch of links and they can be for your loan officer, your real estate agent. It can be for each individual producer. You can have a general one like, hey, this is just for like the link that we have on our website, because you can embed it as a modal pop-up, whatnot. And we have the ability to email, text. We've got a handful of templates in there. Um, but essentially, your client will get an email, a text. They can scan a QR code, as Brett had mentioned, and they'd go to a page like this. So this is your Canopy link. You can customize your URL up here. So mine is Uncommon Insurance. This first screen, they're just consenting. That says, "Hey, everything looks good." They can look at the terms and privacy policy. Nobody does, but they're supposed to. So as we all are. But everything's safe, everything's secure, all that fun stuff. They can come through, find their insurance carrier. We put the most popular ones kind of up top. Um, if you're going deeper, you can search for whatever. So you can pull up, Cincinnati Financial, hit submit. We go through, contact the carrier, pull all that information. On average, it takes less than 6 seconds for all that to happen. And then here you can go into additional questions you want to ask. Here we've got a text opt-in form, that they can say yes or no to. But all that information happens, it gets submitted and pulls in right here. So this is the Clark Kent from Cincinnati Financial Group. All that policies in here, just like I showed you earlier. Um, I'll dive into like what the configuration options are for each link. So, um, well, let me first go to flows. So we have this concept of flows, which is like, what are the different pages that show up? Um, so I had shown you one that was pretty simple, right? It was just like, here's the process, text opt-in, and you're done. You have the option here in this. This is sort of where you'd configure each of those experiences. We've got the consent screen. We have the option here to say, hey, do you already have insurance or not, right? If you're sending this to um, someone that doesn't have previous insurance, this is a good option. Sometimes they're just not going to go through the find your carrier option. They can say no, and it'll just bypass all of this and skip straight to like, okay, well, then you're gonna have to go through the whole longer form experience, add your vehicles, add your drivers, all that stuff. So this one is a much longer form option. Um, but yeah, so if they go through the carrier connection, that's kind of I had just shown. We can go to these other forms where we go, okay, add a vehicle. If we've already pulled it, they're just confirming their information. If they need, hey, there's a third vehicle that was supposed to be here that's not, they'd hit add a vehicle, enter in the VIN number, or they can click that and it'll switch to like, just give me the make and model if you don't know your VIN number. Um, Most people don't have that offhand, right? Um, Adding additional drivers, and then this is kind of what the screen looks like if they need to add an additional driver, or they can just go, no, those John and Jane Doe look good. Um, and then these go into like this is like contact information, property information, pretty straightforward if there's additional property information to include. And then you've got these custom forms that you can do. So these are the ones I showed previously are all like pre-built. They come from a little library. These ones are custom forms, so I'm able to say, okay, are there any major upgrades to your form? And I can change how I want to word that, what kind of response that is it required or not? When was your roof replaced? So these are text fields. This is a date field. We can ask yes, no field, for this vehicle information. So, and if you want to make this a longer experience, you can. Again, like shorter is better, but you got to do what you got to do, and you got to work how you want to work. But that's kind of what the flow looks like on that end. And then any of your links, I'm going to pop over to Uncommon. this guy and I'm going to edit it because I go, oh, that was actually a short link. What I can do, you can customize your branding. You saw some of the logos that were on that page. You can customize the color of this button. You can customize the text that shows up in various places, the title, what happens at the very end. Do we want to redirect it to another URL? Maybe you want to send, we got that little confetti page that says, hey, congratulations, you're done. And they could be done there, but maybe you want to redirect them after a couple seconds. It gives you a little confetti and it's like, let's shoot you back to my website because I'd rather you be there than just kind of be stuck at a empty success page. So you can see the link flow. So that's what I was previously creating. The one I showed you in the demo was the text opt-in. I could choose another one. I think expanded flow was the one that I actually wanted to use. This is where you can check, yes, do I want to allow document uploads or not? Recommend putting that on. Doesn't hurt. And then if you can choose if you want to just show personal lines, show commercial lines, or show both in that long list of carriers. So hit save changes, and then those should all come back up here pretty quickly. And then now you'll see the experience is a little bit different. So
Now, Ray, I got another question for you.
shoot.
I can see where this could be a lot of information for the insureds to fill out, and a lot of times they're doing it during break or what have you, and they don't have time to finish it.
Yeah,
Does
that's why I
this
say
save
short and sweet.
information so that they can go back in, let's just say in 2 days and finish everything? Or let's say that I send it to them and they don't want to fill it all out, but they started. Does it save that information if I need to go back in? Let's just say next year they call me back. Is that information going to be there, or if they filled it out for someone before?
It doesn't save for
populate
them.
online?
It doesn't save for them to like, hey, I want to come back, you know, 3 hours later or the next day.
So they just have to finish it or nothing.
They have to finish it, but look, if they've gone partially through the process, um, it'll eventually come in to your little submissions area. Like it might be here as an in progress. Currently don't have that
But like,
functionality.
if I were to send a link out, let's say to, Ben, Casey, Jessica, Jody, Kimmy, Larry, like all the people, they clicked it, they went through the thing, but we didn't write them for some reason. We weren't competitive. Did they stay in your dashboard for?
They'll stay in the dashboard for.
So it's a prospecting tool as well. Then you've got all the information. You could just stick them in your agency Zoom or what your CRM is and put them in a pipeline and use that as a prospecting tool.
What's cool here is with each of these, you can go and add like, hey, I got someone working on it. So you can just kind of put little status checks. Hey, I'm working on this thing. Megan's the rep on that. So she's got dibs on it. So we know that it's kind of been claimed and not just sitting here. And then you can also do things that are just like, okay, hey, that one we won, and that was a $2,200 policy that Jennifer got, right? Great. So now we've got some this is not intended to be a full like CRM, like far from it. We don't want to go into that world, but people were like, well, we want a little bit of that. So, right, the way rates fluctuate these days, that can be a very different picture.
So if you see the value there, I've seen a lot of people in the comments, bringing up the value they see, come off mute, add any value to that. We will release as a podcast. Don't be afraid to say anything though. But any ideas, any thoughts, anything, whether you liked about it, didn't like, anything like that, feel free.
I think my favorite thing just coming from the agency side was we've all encountered those clients that are like, well, I don't want to tell you my price. I want to see the best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a good transparent view of what the target premium should be.
Yeah. What's also cool.
I love that Casey comes off just to shake his head. Like, that's hilarious. You obviously hit a pain point there. Everybody started smiling and shaking their head. Go ahead,
It
Kate.
happened every time, and you know exactly what demographic I'm talking about that says that too. What's the best you can do? Give me your best price.
They think everything's negotiable. It's insane.
Right? Honey, you
Yeah,
pay the same thing I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Um, yeah, one of the
That's
cool things
hilarious.
is being able to just pull that information, right? And they like it's coming straight from the carrier. As you get closer to the renewal, we actually pull any of the like other documents. So the renewal information will show up in like it doesn't show up in the structured data, but it shows up in the documents. So you can see what's the renewal because again, their current policy is based on 6 or 11 months ago information. What you're currently up against is actually probably their renewal and their visceral reaction to their renewal was like, oh, I need to go. I need to go
Yeah,
find something. Um, so that's helpful, I think. Like usually the coverages are all the same, but then you'll see like, okay, well the premium jumped up, and now you kind of know what you're up against. Um, this also having all this data just makes it really easy for you to, present kind of a side by side, whether you're presenting it as an apples to apples, sort of like, hey, these are the same coverages, but my price is different, or this is apples and oranges, but I just need to show you that the premium's up a little, but because like you had state minimum, straight to jail, like no state minimums here, right? Um,
right.
but you kind of need to show that to justify, logically at least, how you got to that number or how the carrier
Yeah.
got to that number.
Any other questions, comments? Let me check the chat over here. Do you have any data like on close ratios compared to, the data pools? Have you surveyed agents on that?
Not definitively. What I've heard on,
Good question though.
it is a good question. From a full like end to end, just because there's a variety of ways people actually use Canopy Connect, it's the the results would be kind of wild. Like you heard Brett earlier saying like, well, I'm going to put it on the golf course bench, a QR code on the golf course bench. Like that's going to have a very different like conversion rate than someone that you text a
Has more
link to.
intention with it.
Right. Someone that requested a quote and you sent it to them. Those so in those instances, right, where we're responding to a quote request, that is closer to like an 80%, 80 to 90% conversion rate. I've heard higher than that. I've heard agents say if they're not willing to, sorry, not that's not close rate. That's just like completion
Right.
rate of
Bye,
our link.
Teresa. Thank you for coming to hang out. Real quick, hang on a second, not to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
I know Teresa had mentioned, potentially wanting to schedule anything. Tell real quick before anybody else takes off, the best way
sure.
to get in touch with you, book a demo, anything like that.
Yeah. My best way here is go to usecanopy.com/Heath. We've got a page set up there. You get $50 off if you sign up through that page or even book a demo through that page. And there's a form right at the top. To fill that out, calendar pops up and you can select a time
All right, Teresa, I'm
with
putting that in there. Go ahead though. Teresa's asking for the link. All right.
and yeah, so that's the best way to get through. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, so our again, people that are using it better, and it there's a variety in how you're presenting it, right? But from a typical quote request, I'm responding with this link. You get 80% of the people filling that out relatively consistently. There's always agencies that are just like, hey, you don't present it back. You don't present why you're sending them that link. If you just like cold send them a link, and it's like, well, that's a link that's not to your agency's website. It's to this other site. Like people get weird and skeptical about it. So you have to frame it kind of correctly. Um, that, hey, you know, I'm going to send you a link. It's going to get me all the information I need to help run the quote, right? That's usually the simplest, like no fluff explanation that I think works really well. Um, Sometimes people hedge too much and they go, well, I'm going to send you this link, but if that doesn't work for you, then hey, you can go find your deck page. You can send that to me, or you can just give me a call, or whatever. Here's 15 different options. And then people get confused and they don't, you give them too many options. I've got a lot of customers that say, like, hey, if they are not willing to use, go through this process, like, I don't want to bother with them because they're going to be
Yeah.
like, those folks that Kimmy had mentioned that are shopping on strictly on price and they have no relationship with you, they have no interest in a relationship with you. They are transactional customers, and those aren't the ones that I want to write. Now, they might be the right people for some agencies, but a lot of the, independent agent folks, like that's usually not the angle, at least for a long-term good customer. So, um, you do hit a little bit of resistance. I don't know my password. I don't know
Yeah.
what carrier. I don't know what carrier at all that I have. Um, Things like that. Like it happens. One of the things is, a lot of agents make the assumption that like, oh, my clients are old. They don't know their password. My clients don't, you know, do anything online because of their whatever, their demographic. They make these assumptions, and I think largely they're not wrong, but it's also not like just not true. I think it's just ever since COVID, ever since the last 5 years, like people are online, people know their passwords, people have a password manager or just saved in their like Google Chrome or in their iPhone, right? Like more people know it than don't. And we make it easy. If they don't know their password, they can reset their password
Yeah.
straight from our widget. The data comes into Canopy Connect, and that's great. But like, what do you do with that data? How can you get it out into your Rater or your CRM, whatever other tools that you're working with? That's where the data becomes really um,
Yeah.
additionally valuable. You kind of exponentially increase the value of that. Um, One very cool feature that is currently out that I didn't talk about is a little Chrome plugin called Policy Paste. It's free if you're a Canopy user. You can get it from the Chrome extension store. What that lets you do is go directly to a carrier quoting site or any other form on the internet and paste in information, prospect information that you already collected from Canopy Connect. So you can go in there and say, okay, list of customers. I'm going to pick Clark Kent, and it's going to go in and pre-fill all the fields in that form that we can map data to. And it's been getting better and better and better every iteration, because as more people use it, um, we're training it to get better to fill all the information needs. So now it's not to say you're cutting out a rater. It's just, there's sometimes you get different results, right? Going directly versus going through a rater. Sometimes based on what you see, that's going to be a great fit for this particular company, and I'm going to go straight there. So it shortcuts a lot of that extra data entry. We hate data entry over here. Um, so we can cut all that out. You don't need to cut and paste a bunch of stuff. That makes it a lot easier. You can find that information on our website, but it's called Policy Paste.
Yeah. Kimmy just put that in
I
a
pasted
link
it.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
That was awesome.
She's on top of it.
Yes, she
Have
is.
you? Yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you, Ray. I appreciate all of you coming to hang out with me, and I appreciate the comments. I appreciate all of it. So thank you guys. Make sure you go check it out. Use Canopy /Heath, and then check out this episode. Will come out, probably next week. And then tell your friends, about Canopy. I love working with them. They've been so much fun for me. And I know a lot of you already users that listen to the show, but those on here that aren't, make sure you book that demo and get that going. Thanks again, Ray.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And
Always
those,
nice to visit Insurance Town.
there you go. Thank you.